Hello, and welcome to Relationships Rewired. Real conversations, real connections. I'm Rachel, a trauma therapist, a coach, a wife, a mom, and someone who believes in the power of authentic connections.
And I'm Kory Ann, also a therapist, a relationship coach, a mom, and a wife, here to dive into the complexities of our relationships with ourselves and each other.
From understanding the equalities of our attachments, nurturing the bonds of our family ties, and strengthening partnerships, we're here to have real, honest conversations.
So get comfy, because whether you're looking for guidance, practical tips, or an occasional laugh, join us as we navigate the beautiful, messy world of relationships together. If we are talking about self and we go back to what you were speaking to, families of origin and our roles, we either were put in a role or whether we were put in a role or we found, which is actually a little more authentic to a family system, is we're born, um, we're being fed by our mother, we're looking at her face, we're mirroring. Well, that's what we do. That's how we learn. We mirror. And let's say something's off in the system. Let's say around us is a lot of chaos or fighting or unhealthiness. We start to look at that mirror and say, that mirror is the only thing keeping me alive and keeping me safe, but something's off here. But it can't be the thing that keeps me alive, so it must be me. And so we, as a child,
You must be off.
the child, yep.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
Yeah.
So we think I must be the one that's off because the system can't be, or I would die.
Yeah.
So we get this idea, and then we say, in order for this system to work, where do I need to step in?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where our roles are created. In here's where I'm the safest in this role.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were speaking to it just being this learned versus given to us. We have figured out, again, it's powerful to imagine how amazing we are as beings, that we see the system and figure out how we can fit in order to keep ourselves safe, and also not, which is sometimes what we still do, but not only internalize the only thing that's screwed up here is me.
Yep. Yeah.
We still do that at times.
I mean, not us, probably everybody else. Okay, yeah, we're obviously kidding. We totally do. We get this.
We internalize that I must be bad and I must be what's broken in order for the system to not work the way it needs to. Yeah, to function healthfully.
And then the roles are solidified or defined even stronger when we're told what's acceptable or not acceptable. So, for instance, you come to a parent, a teacher, a coach, whatever, and I just to make sure that we are not going back to say, look how crappy your parents are, and we're not looking for blame. We're just saying, here's where we what our process has been and what's created who we are and why and where we're at. But we run to this caretaker and say, we're crying, something's wrong. And the parent says, go to your room until you're happy. Mm-hmm. That parent was dealing with things the best they could. I don't suspect they meant it in any malicious way, but in our small child mind, we say, wow, I'm not accepted if I'm not perfectly joyful and happy all the time. And so when those emotions come up at any other time in our life, we're like, stuff it down, stuff it down, stuff it down, cover it with substance, keep it quiet, do more service for people. Don't let people see that sad part of you. And then it creates our way of being now, but it creates that way of being without authenticity because we had to silence that voice. And so to cultivate authenticity, we have to refine our voice. Yeah. But we don't know what it sounds like because we've been busy stuffing it down.
For sure. And it's scary. Let's open that box up and see if people still will love me. Mm-hmm. And we've internalized this idea that I am lovable if I stuff it, if I turn that voice down. So then getting to a point in our lives where we start to ask ourselves, can we open that box? Can we be connected with this part of ourselves that is so beautiful and appreciated for what it is? is terrifying. Um, who are we outside of that? Who are you outside of the quiet, good girl, right? And what if you are loud?
Mhm.
Will you still be lovable?
That is such a huge pinpoint for me right there, because am I still lovable? Will I still be accepted by my people? I masked
Yeah.
that crap for my whole life so that people would love me, right? That's the message we tell ourselves. And then we get to the cracking place. We go back to that visual. We get in relationship that says this isn't working. I've got to take that mask off. And here we are back at the scary point. And then we are looking at, do I have to go to therapy? Do I have to stuff some more? Do I have to? We're looking for fixes at that point because it hurts to crack.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And I just wanna sort of bounce off what you said there, because you said in relationship, we start to get to a point where we realize it doesn't work. And that might be in relationship with another person. It might be in relationship with ourselves. Like for me, getting to a point after so many years of being the caretaker and even a caretaker and running a business, I was so burnt out that it was killing me. And I just found no joy in life. And I had to get to a point to say, like, what can I give up? And the cost was huge. It was saying, this thing that we've created, this way in which I've created a life, I need to let that go because this part of being a caretaker no longer serves me. I don't know if we all get to that point, but I will say, and you and I have talked about this before, and I've talked about it with clients too. There is something about getting past the ages in our lives where we have roles. So whether it's finding a career, being a student, being a mother, being a wife, these are things, or husband. These are things that we, as we grow up, have this sort of expectation we're going to do next. We're going to get a driver's license, and we're going to go to college, or we're going to get married, or we're going to have babies, whatever it is. When we get to this place in our life where there's nothing that we're supposed to do, there's something about this time in our life where we do start to crack. Not everyone. I honestly think it's a terrifying process that not everyone chooses to walk into. But when we get to this place where we're all willing to like either look at the cracks or crack ourselves open, that's when I feel like true authenticity can happen. And it doesn't have to be in your 30s or 40s. Hell, I think a lot of people are doing this. I see this in a lot of individuals who are choosing, like, I don't want to be a parent. They're starting to look at themselves and what they are wanting for their lives versus what they're supposed to do. And so I actually am hopeful that maybe the cracking is starting sooner.
Mhm, mhm.
Maybe.
Yeah. So then you're talking about leaning into really hard things with bravery to really analyze the cost benefit analysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And acknowledging there is a benefit. We
Mm.
can't just look at this through the lens of a cost, like, oh, this is just costing me my authenticity. But it has been a role that has really kept us safe. So there's a cost of giving it up.
Mhm.
It might be relationships. It might be, I mean, which is really scary, but it might be that we don't belong to our system anymore and we need to find a new system. And is that okay?
Yeah. And is it okay, that question being so big? Because then you're really having to face it. You're really stepping into the experience of facing that
Yeah.
in order to find what really is not only best for us, but also what's probably already within us, or we wouldn't be bumping into that. So I have people come into my office, they're like, I don't know, something feels off. Something feels different. I want to get back to how I felt. They're probably bumping into there's something in me, but I can't find it. So people are coming to us to help them. We're not trying to change them. We're not trying to take away who they are. We're just trying to find what they already have within themselves.
Yeah.
But but we come because we don't know how to find it because we lost the voice.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. So, what are some of the tools that you help both your clients with and yourself reconnect with that part, those parts of yourself that are authentic, that have always been there, that you've quieted?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a little bit loaded because I think it's multifaceted.
Of course.
Naturally, the answer, it depends, is is the therapeutic answer. It depends. Um, so to circle back a little bit to what we were talking about, the when my husband was saying, "Well, what do you want to do?"
Mhm, mhm.
So when clients come in, so first of all, I would strongly and totally unbiasedly, suggest therapy, first of all. That process, will help you find, that person is trained to help you find what is already there. Um, but what does your system look like? Is your system someone that will say, "I can't do this with you, I'm leaving?" Or is your system someone that says, "Wow, this is different, you just changed the roles and this is hard. But hey, why don't you tell me where you want to go? Why don't you tell me what you like?" So to to shift or change and better ourselves is healthy. And in relationship with others, we're still the ones changing the role. So as we change that, can we talk to our system, to our relationships, to our partners and children and say, "Look, this is what's changed or different. Here's what I know that I need. Can you stand by me?" Some people can't stick with that change while we go through the growth process, and some can. So that's individual, obviously.
So would you suggest staying in a system if they can't hold your change?
It depends. It really does depend because I think
Yeah.
timeline matters. To tell someone that right up, oftentimes you get stiff arm, like, "What in the world do you mean?" But with time, for them to see that it's healing you and helping you be a better person, sometimes it literally just takes time for them to understand. Other times you're in relationships that's actually one that you might need to abandon or say, "I'm avoiding this mission. This one's not going to shift and change," because we all change. But if we're in a system that says you don't get to change, that might not be a healthy one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so those tools, along with when clients come in, we'll have them make a list. I'll have them make a list. I'll say, "What do you know that you do like?" And some of them don't know one thing. Some know one or two. Start with a list of one or two, and then make a list of all the things you think you might want to try, so that when you're sitting there going, "Okay, what should I do now?" We don't know what to do now. Oftentimes, when we're in that dysregulated state, but if we can look at a list to say, "Here's something I want to try. Here's something grounding for me. I can go there." Um, that can be helpful as well. Those are a couple of things I've done. How about you?
Yeah. I think I've really connected with trying to help clients see themselves through the eyes of a child. Like when you go back, and this isn't always the safest thing for many clients to imagine themselves as children if their family system was unsafe. But to try and connect with themselves as a child and what were some of those things that they remember about themselves that were natural to their internal system. So, actually, it's funny. My mom tells people this all the time that I made my first friend when I was 3. I do not remember this. I do remember the friend, but I do not remember making the friend. And I know I'm an extrovert. Slightly dramatic extrovert. Anyways, let's not go into that. But it makes sense to me. Like this is a part of me. I've always been social from my very youngest memories of wanting that connection with other people. And so to look back and ask people to step back and sort of remember like what were some parts of yourself that you can recall from a very young age. And again, not everyone can do this, but often those are those authentic parts. And if we can connect with those, I'm still an extrovert. Even though I have more introvert tendencies because I'm tired, I'm still an extrovert and I can connect with that part of myself. And at times I've actually shamed that part of myself. But to start to see it and say, okay, what is this about this who I am? Uh, if I have parents, I'll have them do that with their children because it's actually sometimes easier to look at our kids and say, I see this authentic part of who they are. Like, I couldn't get my kid to swear if you paid him. Um, he's 8. Uh, and it's part of who he is. Like, he's just, and it doesn't have to do with the system. The system isn't broken in that way where he'll get shamed or he'll get in trouble. It's just this, like, he's got a heart on him. It's like, I follow the rules, and that's his authenticity. So sometimes even connecting with parents who can look at the lens through their children, and then they can start identifying to their parts. Because it is easy to get lost or start to say, like, oh, I'm a hard worker. Is that an authentic part of yourself, or is that a defense? And that's actually cool too. We could do that work of like, is that authentic, or is this a coping strategy that you've learned to carry?
That's a really good point. And I think because we don't remember, for example, you don't remember actually making that friend. We don't have memories. Most of us don't have memories super, super early while we were in development. But what we can do is look at a child that we care for and love in that age or stage and think, what do I want? What would be something that would be good for them? Or what would be not that we have to give it to them, but we can then identify with that part of ourself that we can't remember. And if we can identify with that part, we then can, if we need to give ourselves grace at that age, we can give ourselves permission to do things. What did we need as a child that we did not get? Oftentimes we don't know until we start to recognize the child that's important in our life and say, wow, I hurt for this child and want this child to have this thing. Where did that come from? Well, probably something in us we don't remember, but our body and our system remembers.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a whole other episode, but the idea of like being triggered by our children for similarities that they have to us as children who were, or as a child that was sort of shunned or shamed. I see that a lot actually, and in my own life and in clients' lives, how kiddos can trigger us when they represent something that was wounded in our childhood.
Yeah. Yep. And until that episode, when we're talking about it, to be able to identify with the child within ourself through them can be helpful if we're not using them as the tool, but finding ourself because we can have compassion for the child in front of us, but oftentimes we're lacking ability to have compassion for ourselves. So if we can use that as a tool to find that part of ourself, it can be helpful.
Okay, so 3 words. Let's as we come to an end of this episode, 3 words that you would say describe your authentic self.
3 words that would describe my authentic self. I'm going to just say this really fast. 3 words that would identify myself without putting it in relationship to others.
Yeah.
I am compassionate. I am curious, and I'm easygoing.
How about you? I would pick on that last one. I think you are easygoing, but where did that come from? Anyway,
If we were in therapy mode, we would be going into every one of those words. You know it.
I really connected with 2 of those, and I felt like you stole them from me. Curious is absolutely one of them. Courageous is another one. I think I'm a natural sort of courageous person, and I think I'm deeply compassionate at times. That has also been a coping mechanism. So, but I think that is true too.
I love that. And I think, again, if we were in therapy mode, which we're not, but you could ask yourself this. If you are deeply compassionate, how has that served you? Where did that come from? We would be going into each of these words individually to explore and help find our authentic self. Because if you continue to say words, certain words in your life, if you can pause with those words and figure out where they came from, oftentimes you can help find more authenticity within yourself. So that's something that I think would be really cool for whoever, for our listeners to think about. How do you define yourself? Uh, Before this episode, after this episode, was it different? Was it the same? We would love for you to go into the comment section and tell us how you define yourself and how this was for you to hear and listen.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we would love to hear how it is for you to be able to connect with your authentic self, those parts of yourself that are childlike, that have been a part of your story the whole time. And if you found ways that you have turned them off, if you're willing to invite them back in. Thanks so much for joining us today.
We appreciate you being here. Go have a great, authentic week. Thank you for tuning in to Relationships Rewired. We hope today's conversation sparked some new ideas for your own connections.
If you liked what you heard, remember to subscribe and share with friends who might benefit from our chats. Leave us a review. Your feedback helps us to reach more listeners just like you.
And remember, building strong relationships takes time and effort, so be gentle with yourself in the process.
Catch you in the next episode.